I don't even know how to start this. My hands are shaking just trying to type. I feel like if I don't get this out of me, I might actually lose my mind. It's been sitting heavy on my chest, replaying in my head over and over again, and I need to tell someone, anyone, because right now I feel like I'm drowning and no one even knows. This isn't just about being betrayed. It's about losing everything I thought was real. About realizing that the people you love most can be the ones who tear you apart the worst. So if you're here reading this, thank you. Because honestly, I don't know how much longer I can hold this all inside. I still remember the first time I met Evan. It wasn't through some app or a mutual friend like most people. We got locked in a damn art gallery storage room. No windows, no signal, just the two of us and a broken electronic lock that took hours for maintenance to fix. It sounds ridiculous now, but at the time, it felt surreal. We sat on the cold concrete floor, surrounded by bubble-wrapped sculptures and weird abstract paintings leaning against the walls. He had this old protein bar in his backpack, chocolate peanut butter, and he broke it in half without even hesitating, handing me the bigger piece. We started talking to pass the time about everything: Caravaggio, childhood pets, the dumbest jobs we ever had. I laughed so hard at one of his stories about a hamster that used to escape its cage and terrorize his mom's poodle. And he listened, like really listened, when I told him about my first real art class and how it made me feel less invisible. By the time someone finally got the door open, it was dark outside. Evan stood there, brushing dust off his jeans, and said, "Honestly, best accidental kidnapping of my life." Then he smiled, this crooked, shy smile, and asked for my number. God, remembering it now hurts in a way I can't even explain. Back then, it felt like fate, like something had decided you two are meant to meet and threw us into that storage room together. For years afterward, I held on to that moment like it was proof that what we had was different, real. And for a long time, it was good. We moved in together after a year, bought a little house 2 years ago. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Sunday mornings spent fixing up the garden, movie marathons on rainy nights, inside jokes about that stupid protein bar. We built this quiet, steady life, one small brick at a time. I thought we were solid. I thought we were happy. Looking back now, maybe I missed the cracks. Maybe I didn't want to see them. Maybe I believed too much in that stupid, broken storage room fairy tale. Or maybe he just changed. Maybe we both did. All I know is I would give anything to go back to that nay. Sometimes I catch myself clinging to those memories, like maybe if I hold on tight enough, they'll stay real. But deep down, something was already slipping away. I just didn't know it yet. I was about to learn that even the strongest walls can crumble overnight. Building a life together. For a while, it really did feel like we were building something strong, something that could last. Evan and I settled into this easy rhythm, the kind that feels boring to anyone on the outside. But when you're living it, it's comfort, it's safety. Sunday mornings meant coffee runs in pajamas, messy hair, and sleepy kisses. Weeknights were lazy dinners, falling asleep with the TV still on, feet tangled under the blanket. We fought sometimes, sure, about dumb things like whose turn it was to take the trash out, but it never felt serious, never felt like anything we couldn't laugh off a few hours later. 2 years ago, we bought a house. It wasn't huge or fancy, just a cozy 2-bedroom with a patchy yard and a porch swing that needed fixing. I remember the day we got the keys. Evan grabbed me around the waist, spun me in a circle on the empty living room floor, and said, "Home, baby, we finally made it." And we made friends with some neighbors, hosted awkward little dinner parties, started saving up for renovations. Evan even built a raised garden bed in the backyard because I said I missed fresh tomatoes like my grandma used to grow. It was messy and half crooked, but God, I loved it. Loved him. There were plans, talks about maybe getting a dog, maybe starting a family one day, maybe. All these shining little pieces of a future we were supposed to have. Evan made me feel safe enough to dream, and that's not something I give lightly. He was never one for grand romantic gestures, not usually, but he always made my birthdays special. 2 years ago, he organized this beautiful surprise dinner with our friends. Twinkle lights in the backyard, my favorite food, even a homemade cake that was slightly lopsided but perfect to me. Last year, he surprised me with a weekend getaway to the Shenandoah Mountains, just the two of us, tucked away in a little cabin with creaky floors and a fireplace that barely worked. I thought, this is it. This is what it means to be loved. I trusted him completely. I didn't see the slow drifting, the cracks forming under the surface. I didn't notice how often he started checking his phone when he thought I wasn't looking, how he stayed late at work more and more, how sometimes, even when he was sitting right next to me, he felt miles away. I didn't want to notice. I held on to the life we were building like it was a lifeline. I told myself we were just busy, stressed. That's what grown-up love looked like sometimes, right? Messy and imperfect and a little worn at the edges. I didn't know I was clinging to something already breaking apart. If I had been paying closer attention, maybe I would have seen it coming. Maybe I would have asked harder questions, pulled at the loose threads sooner, but I didn't. I trusted him. I trusted us. And by the time the cracks finally split wide open, it was already too late. The first signs, I wish I could tell you, the first crack was something huge, something obvious, but it wasn't. It was small things, stupid things that didn't seem like much at the time, like the way Evan started working late more often. At first, it made sense. His company had been going through some kind of restructure, and everyone was pulling long hours. He'd come home tired, drop his bag by the door, give me a quick kiss, and mumble something about being exhausted. I believed him. Of course I did. Then it was the phone. He used to leave it lying around the house, forgotten on the kitchen counter or buried between the couch cushions. But lately, it was always glued to him, face down on the table or tucked into his pocket like it held national secrets. When I asked about it, just teasing, he laughed and said, "You know how it is. Work drama. Can't risk my phone blowing up with dumb notifications during dinner." It sounded reasonable enough. Reasonable if you didn't think about it too hard. So I didn't. I told myself not to be that wife, the paranoid, clingy one who reads too much into everything. I trusted him. I had to. Trust is the whole damn point, isn't it? Besides, he still kissed me goodnight, still made jokes about my terrible coffee-making skills, still reached for my hand when we crossed the street. How could anything really be wrong? But there were moments, little flashes I couldn't explain away. Like the Saturday morning I found a receipt from a restaurant I'd never heard of, tucked inside his jacket pocket. A place 2 towns over. When I asked about it, Evan smiled easily and said it was just a work lunch. Team bonding. He even joked that the food was terrible. I laughed along with him. I laughed because the alternative, to believe he was lying, felt too heavy to even touch. Or the night he forgot my friend Kayla's birthday dinner. He'd promised to meet me there after work, even texted around 6 saying he was on his way. But he never showed. Called at 10:30 saying he got caught up with a client and just lost track of time. Again, it made sense. Sort of. Except the way his voice sounded. Not rushed or apologetic like I expected. Just tired. Distant. I brushed it all under the rug. I was so good at convincing myself it was nothing, 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 nothing. And then came my birthday. 3 weeks before, Evan sat me down looking miserable. Said he had a mandatory work retreat that weekend. Said he tried to get out of it, begged his boss, but there was no way around it. I smiled, told him I understood. I even teased him about having to do those lame trust falls and scavenger hunts. Inside, though, something twisted. Something told me this wasn't just bad timing. He promised we'd celebrate when he got back, promised he'd make it up to me. He even gave me a small get early, these delicate silver earrings, and kissed my forehead like he meant it. I told myself I was lucky. I told myself life gets busy. I told myself love is patience. But that night, lying awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling fan, spinning slow and tired above me, I realized it had been weeks since Evan really looked at me, really saw me. And for the first time since we met, I felt truly bone deep alone. If you're still here, thank you. It means more than you probably realize. Talking about this, it's not easy. It rips open parts of me I'd rather keep buried. But if you'll stay with me just a little longer, I'll tell you what happened next. The moment everything I thought I knew came crashing down. The discovery. My birthday came, and just like he said, Evan wasn't there. I spent the weekend alone, ordered way too much DoorDash, binge-watched that new show everyone was talking about, FaceTimed my parents, who sang me happy birthday off-key like they always do. It wasn't terrible, honestly, just empty, like waiting for someone who never even planned to show up. I told myself it was fine. He'd make it up to me. We were adults. Things happen. Work happens. Monday came, and Evan walked through the door like nothing was wrong. He tossed a little bag onto the counter. Souvenirs from the retreat, he said. Some fancy chocolates, a tiny bottle of wine with a resort logo on it. He kissed my forehead, told me he missed me, said he was exhausted, and for a moment, I believed him. God, I wanted to believe him. I almost could have left it there. I almost did. But then Kayla texted, "Hey, call me when you're alone." We weren't even that close, so my stomach dropped immediately. Something was wrong. I could feel it before I even hit call. When she picked up, her voice was weird, tight, nervous. "Is Evan home?" she asked. I said no, and then she just blurted it out. I wasn't gonna say anything, but I saw something on Instagram, and I think it's about Evan and Lily. Lily, my sister, I didn't understand at first. Recognized her where? She sighed, one of those long, painful sighs, and said, "One of my friends posted a pool story. Just chilling at a spa, but Evan's in the background with Lily. They're really close." She sent me the screen recording, and there it was, 10 seconds that destroyed everything. There he was, my husband, sitting at the edge of a pool with Lily curled up next to him like they'd been doing it for years. His arm around her, her leaning into him rubbing slow circles on her back, laughing, smiling, looking happier than I'd seen him in months. Not a slip-up, not a mistake. They looked like a couple, a real couple. I must have watched that clip 50 times. My hands started shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone. I kept thinking, this can't be real. This can't be real. But it was. It was real. The stupid vest he wore, the one I helped him pack, was right there. The earrings Lily had on, the ones I had given her for Christmas, right there, sparkling under the afternoon sun. Meanwhile, I'd been sitting home alone, telling myself he missed me, telling myself he wished he could be there. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. It felt like my whole body was folding in on itself. And somewhere deep inside, a small, broken voice whispered, "He didn't just forget me. He replaced me. If you're still here, thank you. I know this isn't easy to hear. It wasn't easy to live either. But if you think that was the worst of it, you're wrong. There were more lies, deeper betrayals, things I never would have believed if I hadn't seen them myself. Please, stay with me. It gets even darker from here." The ugly truths. After the video, I felt like my world had already collapsed. But it turns out that was just the first tremor. The real earthquake was still coming. At first, I didn't even know what to do. I just sat there, staring at that stupid 10-second clip on a loop until my phone battery finally gave out. I told myself maybe there was some explanation. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked. Maybe he just... What? Accidentally wrapped his arms around my sister and stroked her back at a spa while I sat home alone on my birthday. No. There was no explanation. I just wasn't ready to face it yet. I started digging. I checked our joint bank account. There it was, $1,200 withdrawn the Friday before my birthday. No notes, no clear label. I checked his personal account, the one I only touched in emergencies. Nothing weird there, but then I remembered something else. My birthday money. Every year, my grandma sends me $800 in cash, tucked inside a card with a note saying, "Treat yourself." It had been sitting in my wallet for weeks because I kept forgetting to deposit it. That night, when I went to look, it was gone. Completely gone. I felt sick. Still, a tiny, desperate voice in my head said, "Maybe you just misplaced it. maybe you're overreacting. So I called the spa, pretended I needed a receipt for work expense reports. The woman on the phone was so cheerful, so helpful, it almost broke me. She looked up Evan's reservation without hesitation. Romantic weekend package for two. $1,150 total. Paid partly with cash, $800, and the rest with a credit card. I don't even remember hanging up the phone. I just sat there, staring at nothing, feeling everything inside me collapse inward. He didn't just cheat. He didn't just lie. He stole my birthday money, money my grandmother gave me to take my own sister to a spa for a romantic weekend. Like I was nothing, like I didn't even exist. The rage hit me first, hot and blinding. Then came the grief, heavy and suffocating, dragging me under. I waited for him to get home, waited with the kind of calm that doesn't feel like calm at all. When Evan finally walked through the door, smiling like nothing was wrong, I didn't say a word. I just pulled up the video on my phone and hit play. The moment he saw it, his face drained of color, then turned red. Then he started talking fast, excuses, lies, pathetic little stories about Lily going through a hard time, how he was just being supportive. I didn't even flinch. I didn't argue. I just pulled out the spa receipt next, held it out wordlessly. That's when his whole expression changed. The shame disappeared, the mask cracked, and the real Evan stepped forward, cold, angry, careless. He admitted it. He admitted everything. Months of sneaking around behind my back, loving her, wanting her, choosing her over me. And then he laughed while I stood there crying, told me I never deserved a gift anyway, told me at least Lily knew how to keep a man happy. I think part of me died right then. The part that still hoped there was something left to save. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I turned, walked to our bedroom, slammed the door behind me, and slid down onto the floor. I could hear him pacing outside, talking on the phone, probably warning Lily, probably laughing at me all over again. I stayed there for hours, curled up on the carpet, feeling smaller and smaller with every breath. And even then, even after everything, part of me still whispered, maybe it's not too late to fix it. I know, it's a lot. Some of you might be thinking, why didn't I just leave right then? Why stay after that kind of betrayal? Believe me, I asked myself the same thing. But sometimes, survival isn't loud. It's quiet. It's slow. If you're willing to stay with me a little longer, I'll show you how I finally found my way out. The confrontation, The next morning, I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. You know that hollow, sick feeling in your chest? Like you're running on fumes, but your body refuses to shut down. That was me. Evan was already in the kitchen, acting like everything was fine, whistling, making coffee, laughing at something on his phone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the coffee pot across the room and watch it shatter. Instead, I just stood there, staring at him, wondering how the hell he could be so normal, so heartless. When he finally looked up and saw me, he had the audacity to smile. "Morning, babe," he said, like nothing had happened. I didn't answer, didn't even blink. He shifted, his smile faltering. "I know you're mad," he said, setting the mug down. "But can we just talk? Sit down and talk like adults. Talk after everything, after stealing from me, lying to me, humiliating me." I didn't trust myself to speak yet. I pulled out my phone instead and opened the folder I'd created overnight. Screenshots of the bank transactions, the spa receipt, the Instagram video Kayla sent. Proof. Proof he couldn't lie his way out of. I held it up in front of him, one by one, like laying cards on a table in a game I already knew I'd lost. He stared at them for a long time. His face went pale, then red, then something worse, something cold and angry. At first, he tried the sympathy card, told me Lily had been going through a lot, that he didn't mean for it to happen, that he felt trapped, that it wasn't about me. Like that was supposed to make it better. Like cheating with my sister somehow wasn't personal. When I still didn't say anything, when I just kept looking at him like he was a stranger standing in my kitchen, and he snapped. "You're not perfect either," he said, voice rising. "You always controlled everything, the house, the bills, the plans. I couldn't even breathe without you micromanaging me." I just stared, because he was reaching, flailing, grabbing at anything that might excuse the inexcusable. Then he hit lower. "You were boring," he spat. "You got comfortable. You stopped trying. Lily made me feel alive again." That one landed like a punch to the gut, not because I believed it, but because part of me, some ugly, wounded part, had always feared it might be true. I don't even remember what I said back. I think I laughed. One of those broken, hollow laughs that sounds more like a sob. Then I turned, went to the bedroom, slammed the door again. I could hear him pacing, swearing under his breath, making calls. Probably to Lily, probably to whoever would listen. That was 3 days ago. 3 days of silence. 3 days of him swinging between pounding on the door yelling apologies through the wood and pretending none of it happened. 3 days of me realizing deep down there was nothing left to save. It wasn't just the cheating, it was the lying, the stealing, the way he looked at me like I was a burden, not a partner, the way he laughed while I cried. It took me too long to see it, but I see it now, and I know what I have to do. There's a certain kind of silence that feels louder than any scream. That's where I was, stuck between heartbreak and survival. But even in that silence, I knew I couldn't stay. I couldn't let him break me any further. If you're still listening, stay. Because what comes next isn't pretty, but it's where I finally started fighting for myself. The escape. I didn't leave right away. Real life doesn't work like that. It's not as simple as packing a bag and slamming the door behind you. It's slower, messier, quieter. I stayed, at least for a little while, long enough to build an escape that wouldn't leave me stranded. I started with the small things, important papers, passport, birth certificate, bank statements. I pulled them out of our file cabinet late one night while Evan was snoring in the other room, tucked them into a plain tote bag, and hid it deep in my closet behind an old suitcase. Next was the money. I opened a new checking account at a completely different bank. Every few days, I'd transfer tiny amounts, just enough that he wouldn't notice. $100 here, 50 there. It felt like planting seeds in secret, hoping one day they'd bloom into freedom. Then there were the physical things: clothes, books, photo albums that still mattered to me. I started sneaking them out, one backpack at a time, whenever Evan was at work. It was a slow, painful process. Every trip felt like I was peeling a layer of myself away from the wreckage of our life. I reached out to my cousin, Adam, told him lightly that I needed a place for a while. Before I could even finish the sentence, he said, "Whatever you need, it's yours." He gave me the keys to his rental house, a dusty, half-renovated place on the edge of town, and didn't ask a single question. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt seen. Meanwhile, Evan. Evan floated through the days like nothing had changed. He cooked dinner, he watched TV, he kissed my forehead when he left for work, like it wasn't poisoned now, like it didn't burn my skin. He thought silence meant forgiveness. He thought if I stayed quiet long enough, I'd eventually stay. But I wasn't staying, I was preparing. Every time I dropped off another load at Adam's house, the air felt a little lighter in my lungs. Every time I locked the door behind me, I felt a little stronger. The night before I left for good, I sat alone on our living room floor. No lights, no TV, just me and the quiet hum of the fridge in the background. I looked around at everything we'd built. The scuffed coffee table we argued over at IKEA, the second-hand couch that still smelled faintly of Evan's cologne, the wedding photos on the mantel, all perfect smiles and fake promises. It hurt. God, it hurt so much more than I thought it would. But I knew I wasn't mourning him. Not really. I was mourning the version of my life I thought I had. The dream that was already dead, long before I was brave enough to admit it. I stood up slowly, knees stiff, heart heavier than I could carry. I left my house key on the kitchen counter, right next to my wedding ring. On top, I placed a note. You were right. I don't know how to keep a man happy, but apparently neither does my sister. It wasn't for him. It was for me. My final word. My closure. And then I walked out. No dramatic goodbyes. No second thoughts. Just one last look over my shoulder. A whispered goodbye to the girl who once believed in all of it. And I left. For good. You might think that once I walked out, the worst was over. I thought that too, for about 5 minutes. But sometimes, leaving isn't the end of the storm. Sometimes, it's just the beginning. If you're still with me, hold on tight. Because the real fallout, the ugly, messy, unbelievable part, is just getting started. The fallout. The first night in my cousin's rental house, I barely slept. The mattress was too firm, the room too empty, and my heart too full of noise. But even through the exhaustion, I felt relief, a quiet kind of freedom I hadn't tasted in months. I kept my phone off for the first 24 hours. I knew what would be waiting if I turned it back on. I wasn't ready to hear the voicemails, to read the desperate texts, to watch Evan spin himself in circles trying to fix the unfixable. When I finally powered it up, the notifications hit me like a tidal wave. 27 missed calls from Evan, 12 from Lily, 5 from my mom. The voicemails ranged from confused, "Where are you? Are you okay?" to angry, "We need to talk. You're being childish." And then finally, desperate, "Please, please call me back. We can work through this. Don't do this to us." Us. He still thought there was an us. I didn't answer. I forwarded everything to my lawyer instead. Meanwhile, Lily's messages were pure chaos. Long, rambling texts about how Evan had pulled away from her after I left, how he'd promised her all these things, and now he was cold and distant, how she didn't mean for it to happen and felt so alone. Reading her words didn't hurt the way I thought it would. Mostly, it just felt pathetic, sad, like watching someone drown in the mess they created and still thinking they deserved saving. Then came the real consequences. I found out through a friend, one of Evan's co-workers, that rumors had started swirling at his job. Someone had seen something, someone had said something, and suddenly HR was involved. Internal reviews, meetings behind closed doors, whispers in hallways. Evan's company had a strict policy about personal conduct, especially for employees in leadership roles. And cheating on your wife with your sister-in-law? Yeah, not exactly great optics. He started blowing up my phone even more after that, begging me not to make it worse by talking about what happened, as if I had to say a word. He was doing a fine job imploding his own life all by himself. Lily wasn't doing much better. After I sent the proof to my parents, the video, the bank statements, the spa receipt, the family group chat went nuclear. Robert, my older brother, tore into her like I've never seen before, called her selfish, delusional, sick, told her she wasn't welcome at family events until she got her head out of her ass. My mom tried to stay neutral at first, bless her heart. But even she couldn't defend Lily for long, not when she saw how deep the betrayal went. Lily ended up couch hopping between friends' places for a few weeks after Robert kicked her out, but it didn't last. She drank too much, cried too much, made everything about her pain, her suffering, her loss. People got tired. People always do. Eventually, she crawled back to my parents' house with her tail between her legs. Mom said she barely left her room, spending most nights sobbing into a bottle of wine, blaming everyone but herself. I didn't feel sorry for her, not even a little. This was the bed she made. Now she could lie in it. As for Evan, last I heard, the internal investigation at his company was still ongoing. He might keep his job. He might not. Honestly, I don't care either way, because for once, his mess wasn't mine to clean up anymore. For once, I was free. You'd think walking away would be the hard part. But sometimes, what comes after is even harder. The fights you don't see coming, the betrayals that keep cutting long after you thought they were done. If you're still with me, stay. Because now, it wasn't just about healing, it was about fighting back. The legal war, the first meeting with my lawyer, was surreal. I sat there in her office, clutching a worn notebook full of bank screenshots and spa receipts and text messages, and realized this was really happening. This wasn't a nightmare I could just wake up from. This was my life now. She was kind but firm, walked me through everything I'd need to do. What documents to gather, what accounts to monitor, what moves to make, and when. Don't leave the house yet, she said. Don't tip your hand too early. It felt wrong somehow, like playing a game I never asked to be part of. But I nodded because the truth was I didn't trust Evan to play fair. Not anymore. The first blow came fast. 2 days after I moved out, I found out Evan had emptied nearly $7,000 from our joint savings. No warning, no explanation, just gone. My lawyer filed emergency motions to freeze the rest of the joint assets before he could drain those too. We also filed for temporary financial orders just to keep things from spiraling further. Evan's response: he contested everything, filed his own paperwork claiming I had abandoned the marital home, that I was refusing to cooperate, that I was the unreasonable one. It was almost laughable. Almost. Except nothing about it felt funny when I had to spend hours combing through old bank statements, highlighting every shady withdrawal he made behind my back. Or when I sat there signing affidavits, swearing under penalty of perjury that I hadn't lied, hadn't stolen, hadn't been the one to destroy our marriage. Some nights, the weight of it all crushed me. The shame, the exhaustion, the relentless need to defend myself against a man who had already betrayed me 1,000 different ways. But other nights, it lit a fire under my ribs. I wasn't just fighting for my money, or my name, or even my pride. I was fighting for the version of me who still believed in fairness, in justice, in survival. Then, out of nowhere, Evan tried to settle. He had his lawyer contact mine with a proposal. He'd agree to my terms, split the assets, pay his share of the debts, let me walk away clean if I agreed to file under irreconcilable differences instead of citing adultery. It didn't take long to figure out why. Word had gotten back to me that Evan's job was on thin ice. If the adultery became part of the public record, it could tank what little credibility he had left. My lawyer and I talked strategy for hours. In the end, we agreed. I'd take the deal, but only if Evan agreed to cover 80% of all legal fees. It wasn't just about money. It was about making damn sure he carried the burden of what he'd done. We sent back the counteroffer. His side accepted fast. There were no apologies, no confessions, no last-minute declarations of regret. Just a dry stack of paperwork ready for signatures. Just the cold, clinical end to something that was supposed to last forever. It wasn't justice. Not exactly, but it was enough. It was mine. If you've stayed with me through all of this, thank you. Truly, reliving it hasn't been easy, but knowing someone out there is listening, it matters more than I can say. This isn't where my story ends. Pain didn't get the final word. If you'll stay just a little longer, I'd love to show you how, piece by piece, I built a new life, one that's mine and mine alone. The rebirth, starting over, wasn't easy. Some days it felt impossible, but little by little, I did it. I found a small one-bedroom apartment across town. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. The first night I slept there, on a mattress on the floor, with nothing but a thrifted lamp and a stack of moving boxes. I cried, not because I was sad, because I was free. I decorated slowly, secondhand furniture, plants that refused to die, fairy lights strung across the tiny balcony. It's not the life I once dreamed of. It's better. It's real. I opened a new savings account in my name only. Started putting away money for myself, for trips I wanted to take, for classes I wanted to try, for a future that belonged to no one but me. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving. I was growing. Work got better, too. Without the constant chaos at home, I found myself showing up differently. Stronger. Sharper. I got a promotion last month. More responsibility, more pay, and more importantly, more confidence. I also reconnected with friends I had slowly drifted away from during my marriage. People who had missed me, even when I didn't realize I was missing myself. We laugh now, loud, messy laughs that fill the room. The kind of laughter that feels like medicine. And there's someone new, nothing serious yet, just slow coffee dates and long walks and deep conversations under string lights at local cafes. He knows my story, the broad strokes anyway, and he didn't flinch, didn't look at me like I was broken or damaged. He just listened, and that was enough. I don't know what the future holds for us, and for once, I'm okay with not knowing. I'm not rushing. I'm not trying to fill a hole. I'm just living, fully, deeply, unapologetically living. As for Evan and Lily, they faded into the background like old scars you barely notice after a while. Last I heard, Evan lost his job not long after the divorce finalized. Lily moved back in with my parents, bouncing between dead-end jobs and bad decisions. But I don't keep tabs on them anymore. They're not my story anymore. They're not even footnotes. Because my story didn't end with them. It didn't end with betrayal or heartbreak or loneliness. It ended here, in this tiny apartment with the creaky floors and the leaky faucet and the windows that let the morning light spill across my bed. It ended with me building a life I never thought I could have. A life filled with peace and hope and a fierceness I didn't know I carried inside me all along. And if there's anything I've learned, it's this. Sometimes losing everything you thought you needed is exactly what sets you free. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Thank you for staying. I hope wherever you are, whatever you're facing, you find your way home too, just like I did. Thank you, truly. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. Telling this story has been one of the hardest and most healing things I've ever done. If there's anything I hope you take from it, it's this. You can survive heartbreak. You can survive betrayal. And not just survive, but rise. Stronger, wiser, more fiercely yourself than ever before. Sometimes, the people we trust the most will hurt us the deepest. And when that happens, it's not weakness to walk away. It's courage. Choosing yourself, your peace, your future, your healing is never selfish. It's necessary. It's brave. I wonder, as you listened, did any part of my story sound familiar? Have you ever loved someone who wasn't who you thought they were? Have you ever had to rebuild yourself from the ground up? If you have, please know you're not alone. And no matter how shattered you feel right now, you are not broken beyond repair. You are still whole. You are still worthy of beautiful, breathtaking things. Thank you for giving me your time, your heart, your empathy. And if you're standing at the edge of your own new beginning, I hope you take that first step. The world is waiting for you. You deserve every bit of joy still out there. Take care of your heart. It's the only one you get, and it's more powerful than you know.